This is Amanda Lacey from the OEDCP, and this is a tutorial on how to fill out the Record of Field Experiences log that you need to complete in order to gain entry into student teaching. So every time you complete a field experience for one of your classes, this is the log that you need to fill out and get signed. And these are the logs that you will together submit before you enter into student teaching. As a reminder, you do need a total of 200 field hours in order to get into student teaching, and all of these hours must be logged and signed in order to be accepted. So this is what the log looks like as of February 2021. It's a pretty simple log. You can download it off of the OEDCP website, and it is a fillable PDF, which means it's completely formatted for you. Anytime you type into a box, the font will shrink to fit. And if you make any mistakes or you need to reset the log, there is a reset button in the top right-hand corner. So in order to fill out the log, it's pretty simple. You just put your name at the top. So you put your name, you put your student ID number, and then you put the complete number of hours listed just on this page. So say the number of hours listed on all of the page is 36 hours. Then you could put your course number, so maybe it's EDTP 107, your instructor. So I'm going to say the instructor is professor teacher. If you have a supervisor, you can enter it in here. For many of you, maybe you are just taking courses and you do not have a supervisor. That's fine to leave this blank. And then you could put in your semesters. So you could put in where you are. So it's very simple to fill out the top. And then you have this section of the field log. So this section, Section A, Classroom Demographics, all you're doing is checking what applies to any of the experiences on this page. So are any of these experiences with at least 2 different ethnic or cultural groups other than your own? Are any of them with children from different socioeconomic groups? Are any experiences with English language learners, or any of them experience with P through 12 students with disabilities? So any of these that you have experience with, you can check. If you make a mistake, you can always uncheck the box. And that's all you have to do for this box. And this box over here, Field Experience Activity Types, just tells you what different letters mean. So down here, you're going to have to write down the activity type of your field experience. And it is important to remember that you need to have at least one of every type of experience in order to get into student teaching. So let me clarify. You do not need one of every type on each page, but in total. So of your 200 total hours, you need to have at least one type of B, one C, one D, one E, one F, one G, and one H. It is also important to know that for type E, attendance at a school board and school-based council meeting, you need to have one of each. So that's one school board meeting and one school-based council meeting. You cannot have just one or the other. You need to have both. It is also important to know, and this sheet helps you figure that out, is that to enter into student teaching, you also need to have at least one elementary, one middle, and one high placement. It does not matter if you are getting elementary certified or middle certified or just high certified. You need to have one of every level of placement. So it's very important to know that. So when you're filling this out, so say we're filling it out with today's date, which happens to be February 15th, 2021, number of field hours, and say for the field experience that I happen to do today, I was doing student tutoring. So if I look up here at the field experience activity types, I see student tutoring is type C. So I would write C in the activity type box. And then for description of activities completed, I will describe the student tutoring experience. Now it's important for this box to be as complete in my description as possible. Do not just write down tutored student, because that doesn't give us a lot of detail. And if we have questions later on, we don't have a lot to go off of. So instead, I would write something along the lines of tutored student on how to complete fractions in math, or something of that sort. You can go into even further detail. You can say, I tutored a student on their math homework in which we completed fractions and complex equations. Or perhaps I tutored a student on the history of the American Civil War. and say that the student I tutored was in middle school. So I would click middle in a placement site. So say I was at Olmsted Academy, oops, North, and the name of a mentor teacher. So say the teacher I was with was Miss Math Teacher. Write her name. And here for the infinite campus number is where you would write down the number of the class as seen in the program Infinite Campus, which JCPS teachers use. Now, not all field experiences will have an infinite campus number. Maybe you were having a field experience where you're tutoring at an after-school program which doesn't have an infinite campus number. This box doesn't necessarily have to be filled out. This is for your purposes only. When you are later entering in information into the KFETS program, this will help you out. So again, do not worry, do not panic if you don't have this right away, or if your teacher is a little bit confused about where to find this. It can be found on the Infinite Campus program that they use to take attendance. It's their course number, but it is not always readily found. And then finally, here is where the teacher needs to sign their name. This is a very important part of the field log. If the teacher does not sign, you cannot get credit for these hours. So make sure that at some point the teacher signs. And it doesn't matter if this is a physical signature or a digital signature. There's another digital signature video that you can find on the OEDCP website if you need help on figuring out how to do that, but it does need to be signed. Now, after all of your activities are logged, you need to make sure that you yourself sign at the bottom of the page. And again, this can be a digital or physical signature. Date it, and then again, have your university supervisor or your professor for the class you're doing field experiences for sign and date the bottom of the page. And then you can just save and send the log wherever you need to send it. Make sure you save a file, save it to your files for your records, because again, you will need to submit these right before you go into student teaching. So this is how you filled out the record of field experiences log. It is pretty simple and self-explanatory. Any experience that you have should fall into any of these categories. You need to make sure that you have at least one of each of these categories. Make sure that you have all levels of experiences, all field experience types, and that you have all of your signatures. Those are the most important parts of these logs. Thank you so much for watching.